Hello, and welcome to the Stacking Dingers Show, your home for all things Underdog and other MLB best ball related games. I am your host, Matthew, aka Sheep, aka Dark Sheep. You can find me over on the Twitter machine at D4RKSH33P underscore. And I am once again joined by my good friend Chris at B3ISBOL on the Twitter machine. And we are talking Pennant Part 2. What's going on, Chris?
Not much. I truly never get tired of the intro, and I truly never get tired of talking the P3NNANT contest with you over on Underdog. It is my favorite contest of the year, and so I'm very happy that we are back to go deeper.
I do think that it would be a lot cooler if they named it that. I mean, no, numbers and names are just cool.
We got to talk to our people and affect some change, because I think they would love our suggestions and our branding tips for them.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I don't know if I'll pop back over. I just randomly thought, why don't I ask Underdog for a good Underdog logo with a transparent background? Because I had some gross like screenshotted thing that I did and then tried to remove the background. So yeah, they really want our branding tips.
Yeah, new me. This is for you. Get on this for me and Sheep. We need the high quality JPEG for the logo, and we need the pennant name to have a 3 in it. Thank you.
Yes. He got me the logo, and I'm like, why did I never ask for this? Anyway, yeah, we're talking Pennant. We're gonna dive deep into some teams tonight. But first, before we get into that, let's pop over to the world famous Pennant sheet, and we have something that was not here before. You were able to get your hands on some data from last year's contest. So we have the ability now to, you had the ability to do some quick data analysis. So what do you got here on the lower left of this sheet?
So yeah, we got the pennant data from last year's contest a couple days ago. Did the kind of quick math just to compare, year over year. The two things that we really like to look at high level when we look at these data dumps from Underdog is, what is the field doing? So that's going to be your, draft tendencies, percentage of teams drafted with, certain characteristics. So when I think of pennant, I think of, how many teams are you stacking in your draft? So we're looking, what did the field think of doing last year? And then so that's your left. And then on the right, we have, how did those teams actually do? So last year, we're going to take some credit here, because the most popular way to build a team last year was to stack two MLB teams together. And this, it barely edged out the 3-team builds. So there's still, the safe crowd out there that does, want their comfort and want their first round advance. But we did it last year, and I think we're going to keep growing that this year. So from last year, it was 25% teams drafted like that. 2 years ago, it was only 9. So I think, this year we can get that up into the 30s, and we'll see kind of how things go from there. So just tendency wise, we saw more teams concentrating on, I think, the way that I think is correct. I think we've seen in the results, it is very helpful and very powerful to do that. And then, on the right, we have the advance rate and the finals rate, where, green is good. So we see that those teams that were, stacked 2 MLB teams together did better getting out of the first round, which is actually kind of surprising to me. And then they made the finals at kind of the higher rate, which is the expected part. So we're going to call this confirmation bias and continue drafting the way we're drafting.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So anything else you added to the sheet here?
Nothing else crazy yet. The one thing that I am going to add as we get closer to the playoffs is going to be the rotations for individual teams. I think that is kind of a very important little edge in the last week of drafting. So if you're, focused, playoffs start October 1st. So if you're drafting, let's say 25th onwards of September, as the contest starts to fill, And I think it's going to fill again this year. It filled last year, maybe day of or day before. We're making good progress. It's like 34% full already with a couple weeks to go. So I think we're doing pretty well towards that. I think the edge at the end of drafting is the playoff rotation. So I'm going to add those as we start hearing from beat reporters and as we start kind of honing in on who's actually getting the ball on, in the wild card round, because that is a tangible edge I think that we have as well.
Yeah, getting that guy that gets maybe 3 starts in that first round could be pretty important. And depending on it, it depends on how the team is finishing up the season. Like, are they playing for something? How their last few games, who they start the last few games, kind of necessitates who they have to start in the first playoff game, and so on. So yeah, that's definitely good. But if you did not check out last week's episode, go back and check out that, because you'll get the whole lowdown on the pennant contest and the bountiful amount of tools that you have in here to help you draft that. Yeah, so tonight the main focus though is over here. We're gonna go here. I'm on the rankings tab of the contest, and we're just gonna sort of talk through some teams, ADPs, who maybe we think's worth drafting, not drafting. I don't know if we'll get to every team. I think we'll probably skip some of the fringe teams. I think when it comes to like the Twins Detroit decision right now, there's not really a reason to even draft either of them, because even once we get to the point where we know who it is and you still have bullets to fire into this, people aren't going to be drafting either of them. So, or whichever one gets in. So I think that's kind of different for Braves and Mets, but even then you don't see them drafted much right now. So it doesn't really matter who you draft on those teams right now, until we know which one is.
Agreed. I think there's a big distinction for these fringe playoff teams between like a juggernaut that's had a bad year and could do damage in the playoffs if they make it, or a middling team that probably doesn't have much of a shot at going deep in the playoffs that people aren't going to want to draft. Like, I think the juggernauty teams would be worth taking a shot on when you don't know. And there might not be one of those this year. I don't really think that the Braves and the Mets kind of qualify, but I think they are more live to go deep than the Twins and the Tigers. So we can, park that. And like you said, those are not competitive teams to draft. Like, you're good on you if you want to fight me for the Twins, like in a lobby. Like, you can have at it, and I'll wait until we know for sure.
Yep, agreed. So let's start right at the top. Let's start with the Yankees. So last time on the show, you were like 120. No, you were 50 drafts in, and then you like finished within a few days. So Yankees, I have seen not really split too much up. I feel like you basically can't get Judge or Soto, but from there you can kind of do whatever. Obviously, if you can get those two together, you're in a great spot. But otherwise, to me, I think that outside of maybe an ADP on Jason Dominguez being a little bit low, I feel like they're pretty like, I don't want to be drafting Jazz Chisholm at pick 17, but if you are making the Yankee stack, you have to take him there. So I'm completely fine where the kind of the order that these guys are going, and I don't really see anyone fringy that maybe you would even want to mix in.
Yeah, I agree. The story of the Yankees to me, like as a team, is they're expensive because they're going to be the 1 seed. They're going to win the division. They're going to get home field. They're going to get a bye. They're expensive because of the Yankees, and they have, Judge is just a monster in this format. Soto is a monster in this format. They have, 2 of the best X number of hitters in the league. They have a frontline starter. They have kind of defined roles in a locked up spot. I think my general strategy was avoid until they fell in my lap, because they are a competitive team to draft. There's usually somebody in the draft that wants Yankees and will go out of their way to take Yankees, even if they don't kind of, land Judge or Soto. Sometimes somebody jumps in. Sometimes, the Soto ADP has dropped, like definitely from when I stopped drafting. He was usually going like third or fourth. Now that he's going kind of 6, 7, I wonder if the contest is going to keep drafting for another 2 weeks. I kind of feel like that's going to extend out maybe even more. And you could end up with this Judge Soto pairing happening more frequently. So I would overall, my vibe on the Yankees is they're a good team. They have flaws. I don't trust Aaron Boone whatsoever in the playoffs. I really don't trust this team to I don't trust them to make the World Series, so I think they're too expensive, and they're low on my priority list if I'm drafting right now.
Yeah, and I think the one question I have is, I'm probably taking Cole, then Heel, and then Rodon. If even, I'm probably not even taking Rodon up here. I'm gonna wait and take a Cortez or Schmidt later. I think for the third.
I definitely took Rodon over Heel a lot, because I just think his spot is pretty safe. Now, game to game, you have no idea what's going to come out of right. Rodon. And Rodon is like a classic playoffs. Things tighten up, and it's like 3 innings, and he's thrown 78 pitches and walked 6 guys, and he's out. And we're going to the bullpen. That is very on the table with him.
Yeah.
I think what you said about the extra pitchers that they have, that is a very good one to note for when we start getting reports on who's going to get the ball in game 3. And then that's the guy you just start drafting. But I think similar vibe, wait, figure out when we know, and then draft. None of those guys are upsidey enough that people are going to take them away.
Yeah. And Stroman's basically a long guy and probably will have that role in the playoffs too. So he's not completely ruled out for me, but lowest priority because they have enough good guys. All right, let's move on. I guess we should probably do this in a reasonable order. Should we keep going on the AL?
I think we do AL and then NL. Yeah,
all right.
Let's clear it out.
So let's see. The next would be Baltimore. By ADP at least. If you want Gunnar Henderson in your Baltimore stack, you usually have to take him in the first round and make your claim. I think they're a very interesting team to stack in that I can see putting a lot of guys in at the end. So this is a team to me that you get these core pieces, Gunnar and Santander and Burns, and then from there, ADP shows this, but you can kind of wait and start on your NL team, and then Grayson right now is kind of running out of time to ramp up.
Is he a do not draft right now?
I don't know. He's been out for a while. I think the beginning of August. So he needs to ramp up. But looking at the other guys, Dean Kramer, Keegan Aiken, Suarez, Bradish, is it much if he's pitching 3 innings out of the bullpen? Is that much worse than getting Dean Kramer's 3 innings from start and he gets blown up?
No, I agree. I think my take here is it's really weird the way that the ADP has moved for Baltimore, because the Gunnar, Burns, and Santander prices have gone up. When I started drafting, Gunnar was going 16th. And hand up, I probably inflated the price because I took him a lot and I took him real high. So he's a first round pick now. So you got to get in there and you got to take him. They're giving me kind of Texas vibes from last year, where they were leading the division, playing pretty well, fade down the stretch, get overtaken, limp into the wild card round, and then maybe they go on a run, I don't know. The vibes feel worse around this team than the Texas team did. But the way I would attack is, like you said, the top three guys definitely jump in, make your claim. Nobody really wants to draft Adley. He's been kind of miserable for 2 or 3 months, so you can wait on him. Grayson is a wait and see for sure. I would honestly prioritize Eflin as like the fourth Oriole to go draft. I think he gets the ball in game 2. I think if the playoffs, like, he's getting that second start in the wild card round, I think.
Yeah, I agree totally. I think the other sneaky upside guy is Cedric Mullins, who has really turned it on this last month, and he's hitting his stride at the right time. And then after that, like I said, if you want to build this stack and you want to make the 7 guys from Baltimore, like, put it Ryan O'Hearn, Ryan Mountcastle, Jackson Holiday, just put any of them. Flip a coin, pick one, just say, or Eloy even. Like, they have a good one World Series, because you're getting you're not relying on those guys, but they all have game to game upset or series to series upside, I think.
Yeah, even somebody like Heston Kierstad, like, he just came off the IL a couple days ago, and since coming back, he is DH'd and hit fourth, and played right field and hit 7th, and then was sitting versus a lefty. So they're gonna mix and match some guys, but like, I think he's in the playoff lineup against righties. And the other side of knowing like your own team's playoff rotation is we're gonna know who the Orioles are going to play and who those guys are going to be throwing pretty quickly. Like, as we get to the end of the playoffs, you can kind of anticipate maybe there is, a series where they play somebody who has 2 lefties and Kierstad's not involved, and that's going to be an Eloy game. But like Mullins, same thing. Like, he has hit second or third every day in the past 10 days against righties, and then the one lefty he hit 7th. So like, he is locked in, I think, near the top of that order until proven otherwise.
Yeah. And, strangely enough, we skipped the likely other bye team to go right to Baltimore, who basically has no ADP. The other bye team in the AL, nobody cares. Nobody wants them. I forget. I forget that they're there because you don't see the names. And when I'm like deciding my teams as I'm drafting, okay, I got my NL team. What's my AL team going to be? And then I see Bobby Witt with his ADP up at the top. I'm like, oh, let's go KC. But God, this is a sneaky team.
I have a hard time with these guys because the bye is a huge plus for World Series chances. The pitching is going to be good. Do you know who's going to pitch the 3 games of the 4 games? Not a chance.
No.
Hitting wise, I think the 3 or 4 guys that are going to be in there. Then it's a mess. They have been, Stephen Kwan just went on the IL. Like, that's rough. Since the beginning of August, they are a below league average hitting team by WRC plus, the same as the Orioles, which is depressing for those of us with a lot of Orioles. So Cleveland, to me, has like their back stack your NL wildcard, like your expensive NL wildcard team. I didn't go out of my way to draft them, and I don't really think they're kind of like a high priority. There's a lot of red flags here. They just, to me, they're not going to be able to hit enough in the playoffs, which is always a scary thing.
Yeah. I have no idea who made the graphic, but somebody posted a graphic of wins added, like what part of the team, like it was.
That was really good.
If you saw it, but the Brewers and the Guardians both had a huge chunk of just bullpen. That was the wins added was from the bullpen. So definitely can win playoff series with a good bullpen. So I think
they're definitely a candidate to like throw a wrench into the way this contest works by advancing through a round and scoring no points. Like that's on the table.
Yeah. And I don't have any specific, draft Jose, draft Josh Naylor. Even Lane Thomas has been a part-time player in the last month or so. So they're going to mix and match a lot. Stephen Kwan is, I think he was just back injury, so that could be a problem too. He was kind of part of the buoyancy that got them to this point. So I think you can just take, shotgun approach on Cleveland if you want to draft them.
I found the picture and I sent it to you. It's jarring, like how much of their just kind of overall win, like just their success this year has been based on like those giant pink bars to the left. Like that is a tremendous amount of value they're generating from relief pitching, which is a strength of both teams. But like you said, I don't know about repeatability or like when's the last team we saw that had like lights out bullpen that actually took them and won them the World Series? Like that Royals team, like, and they were doing a bunch of other weird shit too. So like the lights out bullpen was just kind of one piece of that.
Yeah. So this was by Stephen Pappas at Go Cubs 49. But yeah, this was this White Sox chart is pretty funny.
Comical.
All right. Let's go back here. All right. So your guess is as good as mine on pitchers for the Guardians. Like I don't want to drop Matt Boyd.
Yeah. No thanks. Ivy's probably safe. Bieber either gets like the token start and then gets shelled and pulled after 2 innings, or is just like left off the roster.
Is he gonna be back?
I have no idea. Like
I don't think
that feels very thin. So
yeah,
I would, in my heart of hearts, like to draft Alex Cobb, but another one, like I don't know.
Yes, I had he was one of my 20th round guys on Underdog. Exactly. He was on my deep league roto team, and he just never played. So, all right, on to the next team in the AL, the Houston Astros. I think they're an interesting team because I think I see a like 50-50 split on drafts where there's 2 people drafting Houston. I think that it's fairly easy to get, the top combo that you want. And I think their costs just are pretty correct.
I agree. I think right now, if I had to start drafting and kind of go through my work, they would be the AL team that I draft the most of. They're not going to get a bye. They have, elite hitters that will score in this format. They have one front of the line starter, and then some other guys that maybe are kind of semi-confident. I think I'll put them in that bucket. Like I think Kikuchi is getting the second start, and then maybe Hunter Brown gets the third one. Like I think that's kind of the vibe. Sure. And they have just hitters you can take. So this is my favorite AL team to draft right now. And I just think they're good, and they're terrifying in the playoffs. Like they could go into Yankee Stadium, no problem, and come out winning that series. I have no issues with them starting slow this year and then kind of turning things around because this lineup is incredible.
Yeah, and they are just ice cold because they've all been in the playoffs already too. So again, don't have to worry about that side of the emotional side of things. The one thing I think is wrong is that Justin Verlander has an ADP.
Agreed.
And that he's getting taken more often than Spencer Arrighetti, if you miss out on, if you want a 4th pitcher or you miss out on a 3rd because you are fighting, he's number 4 for me. He's looked really good.
he has been so good over the past month, 6 weeks that you can't really make a case to leave him off of at the very least having a significant role in this pitching plan for the playoffs. And Houston you can have whatever baggage you want with Houston. They are a very smart team, and I think they will deploy their pitching particularly in a way that is most effective for them. So they might do some mixing and matching, they might do some stuff, but I really agree. I can't see them kind of leaving Arrighetti out of that plan.
Yeah.
Hitting wise, so I think the first four guys locked in, that is not really a surprise. Any takes from you on the names after that?
I'm basically stopping after Pena. I'm fine with Yainer Diaz or Jeremy Pena because they are not. They've been fine. They've had both gone on good streaks this year. They both have upside. Yainer Diaz, even when he doesn't catch, is still DHing. So you're not losing out catching volume with him. And because they'll bring Caratini to catch, and both guys will be in the lineup still. So after that, I can't click. The name that I've wanted to click is John Singleton because he just has this one game upside, but I haven't done it.
Yeah, that is a tough click for me because he is they're not letting him touch the field against lefties,
Right.
Starters, and then he's a mid-game pinch hit risk immediately if there's a matchup disadvantage, I think.
Yeah.
So,
but
I think
if you told me John Singleton was randomly the World Series MVP, he's really bad. He strikes out all the time, but he could also hit 10 home runs out of nowhere. Very unlikely. But
don't lose any points for strikeouts. Same scoring format as the regular season.
Yeah, maybe not. No, let's stop that. I'm thinking about it more.
John Singleton talk.
Yeah,
I think
there's a reason
Diaz,
every time I think about it, I get off of it. So, what were you gonna say? Sorry.
Diaz should be closer to Bregman than Pena. I think that is something that I'm pretty comfortable with. I think Diaz is a quality fifth hitter, and he hits basically third or fourth when he's in the lineup, which is almost every day, like you said. So pencil me in for a lot of Yainer Diaz if I can keep drafting him.
Yeah, and I'm always of the thought that people are too low on Jeremy Pena, so I'm happy with him in my stacks. And the nice thing about taking those guys is you're likely to have Jordan or Kyle Tucker, so you feel pretty confident about your outfield having one or two of those guys, even if they were your only guy. And you're tacking on infielders here, you feel pretty comfortable.
Agreed.
All right. Let's move on to Kansas City, who, like I said, Bobby Witt has a higher ADP than Jose Ramirez, but the rest of the team kind of is even lower than the Guardians ADP. I am super surprised that Cole Reagans is not up there with Bobby Witt. I feel like that is a combo that you want to tell somebody you're drafting KC, you take those guys. So I don't know if this is a factor of, you can wait on getting Reagans, but that is a big surprise to me. And, he's a very beloved fantasy player. So I'm surprised by that.
I agree. I think you nailed it with what it is, which is just that people know they can wait on this team because nobody really wants to draft them beyond Bobby Witt. And his ADP has maybe slipped a little or stayed pretty static. He hasn't really moved from kind of the mid-20s. I think the outlook for this team is I'm more intrigued by them than I am by Cleveland or the Yankees at cost. I think they So they're likely they've kind of distanced themselves at this point from the shit show in the 6th seed. Like that's going to be the winner of this Minnesota Detroit thing, I think. So that means that they're likely getting Baltimore in round one, which is definitely a better matchup than going to Houston for round one. So that's a plus. Witt is a star. And then I think they have a more defined 1-2, like you mentioned. Like Reagan's Lugo, I think very clearly, if they can set this up, those two guys get the ball. Game one, game two. The hitters, beyond Witt. So Pham, to me, is correct as the second guy off the board. And I think the ADP just reflects that there's no competition, so you can wait to take him. He should be going as the second hitter on this team, and then Sal Perez third. I don't know what to do with Melendez because, like, it's okay. Like,
yeah, I agree totally. I think Sal should be drafted before Tommy Pham, but when you're drafting this team, who else are you going to draft in the outfield? So for me, it's been like, I got to make sure I get Tommy Pham. I don't know who's going to snipe me on Tommy Pham, but I need that outfielder because MJ Melendez, Kyle Isbell, Hunter Renfroe, like the most consistent guy in the lineup is Kyle Isbell, but he's the worst hitter. The other guys are all mix and match platoon, or they move up and down the lineup based on their platoon splits. So like Melendez is not playing every game. So Kyle Isbell is there for his defense, and he's going to play more games in a series probably, but he's bad. So like just take shots if you want to deep stack this team.
Agreed.
I don't think like it's not even crazy to draft Freddie Furman for me instead of Miguel Garcia. Like
no, like Garcia feels like a name that got floated as like season long. Like he's in first. Like that's just a guy who kind of compiled like 1,000 points. Yeah, that's decent. The gap between him and Michael Massey is like there should be a bigger gap. Like Massey actually plays almost every day and hits 4th, 5th, or 6th. Like that's at least the dude that's going to be in the lineup. Is he any good? Oh, well, like we'll find out. But same vibe. Like if you're going to stack this team, he'd be the third infielder, and then you just got to get lucky with your outfielders, I guess. And
if you are planning on stacking this team, make sure you're thinking about outfield on your other team, and maybe prioritizing an outfielder over an infielder when you have like a 50-50 decision, or even a 60-40 decision on the other team.
Excellent point. Last thing on these guys before we move on. Do you have a take on the third pitcher to get the ball?
I think it's probably Waka. Just because of experience, playoff experience. But I really like Michael Lorenzen. He is just like this guy. I don't know if I'm drafting him. Like I have been taking Waka, but he's just always a guy to me that either gets blown up, but he can have some good starts too. So he might pitch out of the bullpen. I don't know. It's interesting. He doesn't really strike anybody out, but he's not that much worse than Brady Singer.
Correct. I think at the very least, Lorenzen is the long guy or a piggyback guy for one of these other like mid dudes. And so I agree. There's like no real gap between those other three. Definitely a good team with a defined 1, 2, 3. You could talk me into or out of depending on your team. I think a lot of people when they draft the Royals are going to draft them as the small side of a big NL stack. Like that feels really neat. So there's going to be a lot of like, Witt, Riggins, Lugo, Pham, Sal. 5. There you go. Tack that onto your Phillies or your Padres or whoever and like move on. So big Royal stacks, I think, could have some leverage, just based on the way this could break.
Great point. So yeah, we're gonna skip Tigers and Twins just for time, and we are gonna move over to the NL. Let's start with the guys at the top of the ADP, and let's talk Dodgers. Pretty much, I don't know what I'd say 75% of the time they're getting split in drafts. I'm actually surprised that it's not closer to 90%. Maybe it's a self-fulfilling thing because when I'm in the room, I'm not going to, I usually don't. I did at the 6th pick take Betts Freeman yesterday to be that guy that split the team. So if you want to draft Dodgers, you have to be comfortable with splitting them, and you have to figure out how you want to draft them based on that information.
Agreed. And I think so. This ADP has also trended, I think, similar to the Yankees, where you have your anchor guy at the top, and then the next two are drifting back towards that turn, kind of on the wrap. We might see them slip a little bit. One of the dynamics I think we saw last year that we're probably going to see again this year is just the way that these contests work, and the sickos that are drafting, as early as I was, is that there's more people at the beginning that are willing to, get out there and stay in your lane, like they like to say, and focus on your team and build that out and try not to, mix things up. As this contest gets closer and, Numi puts this on the front page of the website and they got to fill this thing and more people want to hop in and throw in 5 teams or whatever, you're going to see some more people that maybe aren't as attuned to what the right move is. And you're going to see, bets, I can take him in the first round. They're the Dodgers. They're going to be awesome. So just have that mindset where I would preach patience with the Dodgers. Wait for the right team to fall to you and the right room. That happened to me a couple times, and I ended up with, of my 150 teams, I took 15 Dodgers teams, kind of spread out across mostly the wild card teams. And then I have one mega Yankees Dodgers stack, which is fun, but we'll see what happens. I think just be patient, wait for this team to fall to you, take the first 4 hitters, take Flaherty, take Yamamoto. Yamamoto probably had the most wrong ADP when this opened. It was like in the 50s or 60s. He comes back, looks great. He's going to go off, I think, ahead of Flaherty and maybe Teoscar by the time this thing closes. Like, Glasnow ain't coming back.
Yeah.
So
Glasnow's not coming back. Buehler is bad. Stone, unlikely to return for the season. Kershaw, I'm not taking Clayton Kershaw. He's going to be,
good.
I don't want to get into a whole Clayton Kershaw in the playoffs discussion because I think that is ridiculous and I hate that conversation. But I don't want to take him because I don't think his body holds up to pitching anymore. So I'm not going to risk that. Bobby Miller, demoted, probably not going to be part of any roster. Like, Landon Knack is the guy at this point.
Which is wild.
So maybe I do take Kershaw and say he gets 3 innings here and 3 innings there, but it's basically Flaherty and Yamamoto and then pray that Walker Buehler's not bad for a few starts.
I think that's the move. And this is a team I'm comfortable just taking 2 guys, like the 2 guys, and then calling it. Like, I don't really need to, I don't have like a big itch to speculate because the Dodgers are very, smart and analytical team when it comes to rolling out their pitchers in the playoffs, and they're not going to fuck around and throw out, somebody for 5 or 6 innings when they don't need to. They're going to throw, somebody's best 2 innings and somebody else's best 3 innings and do whatever it takes to get them through. So I agree. This pitching, frankly, this pitching is problematic for their actual chances to make the World Series.
Yes.
To me. Like, this is like red flags for this team. So I was low based on cost. I'm also low just based on I don't think they're going to make the World Series. So if they do, it'll be on the backs of these bats. But like, I'm good to wait, patient, have the draft where the stars align. Otherwise, go look other places for your teams.
Yeah. I mostly agree, but like I said, I'm comfortable wanting to split them because they are so top heavy and they could just score a ton of points. And even if you are getting 0 points from Gavin Lux and getting him to the playoffs through the 80 point per game Shohei Ohtani series, I'm definitely fine with it. The other thing I want to add is that the reason why I'm also comfortable splitting them this year is that they are not the Braves of last year who were getting split between three people. Like two,
Good
there were
point.
always two, sometimes three. The Braves were getting split between. So yeah, I think that's partially due to people getting educated in the contest and how to stack, and also because there is some doubt as to the rest of the roster. So uh, it's like last year I was a firm fade the Braves guy. I'm less firm on that this year with the Dodgers in a similar dominant lineup.
I think that's a good call. My last player take here is Tommy Edman and Max Muncy should go way closer to Will Smith than they do, or Will Smith should go way closer to Max Muncy and Tommy Edman. Like Tommy Edman plays every day for this team,
Yeah.
and he's going to be in the roster. He's going to be in the lineup every day for the playoffs. So take Tommy Edman if you're looking for infielders to tack on.
I'd probably take him over Muncy too.
Yeah,
just
fine with that.
He's batting fifth mostly. Yeah, that makes me sad because I love Will Smith, but he has just not been in it this year.
I know, it's tough.
All right, so let's move over to the other probable bye team. If you're not aware, the Brewers, they have some room to work up into the bye. They're still going to be playing for it. But right now, projections, Fangraph says Philly is the other bye team. And yeah, this is my, you said Houston was, your favorite AL. Philly's my favorite NL team. Like, I just think it's a very similar situation that these guys have been there. Pretty much no turnover on this team from last year's playoff team. And, they just ran into the Arizona buzzsaw. Yeah, I think Phillies are correct. I feel like they're like getting split maybe 50% of the drafts. It's not as much as I would have expected.
No, and like if you just look at the shape of the ADPs, 5 pairs with 8, pairs with 15, pairs with 19. So what this tells me is that a lot of people are landing this Phillies combo, which makes a lot of sense because I agree with everything you said. This team on paper, I just think they're better than the Dodgers in a 5-game series, in a 7-game series. I just really think they're built to win playoff series. And it would feel like the culmination of like a multiple year journey to if they were to win the World Series this year. They have the bats. They have a locked in 1, 2. I think Ranger is a locked in 3. If he's healthy and around doing stuff, but even if he's not, like Sanchez, I think is 4. Like there's a gap there between Sanchez and Walker. Don't take Taijuan Walker.
No.
And in there, do not take Taijuan Walker. In their lineup, similarly, they play Schwarber, Turner, Harper, Bohm, Castellanos, Stott, Real Muto, and Marsh every day. Basically, like there's 8 guys that are playing 95% of the time. They don't really mess around with the lineup. They don't really, get aggressive with the matchups or with the pinch hitting. So like This is also a team that I'd be comfortable with. You get in on Philly, somebody else gets in on Philly. I'm comfortable waiting out that other person and taking more Phillies and just going head to head with them and saying, we're going Philly for Philly. And then I'll take 4 or 5 Phillies and go find an AL team to draft like 7 or 8 of because there's enough quality options here that you can have Philly be the small side of your stack and still feel totally fine on where the production's coming from.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think it's tough to miss on Wheeler.
That's fair.
I think he's head and shoulders above Aaron Nola in terms of upside and consistency. Although Nola's been pretty consistent this year, to be honest. But my biggest take on this is that I think Harper should be going after Schwarber and Turner.
Ooh, that is spicy.
But I'm taking Harper first, so
that is fair.
But if somebody takes Harper, I'm very comfortable then, because maybe they'll take him pick 3 or 4, and then I'm comfortable jumping in
and a hitter.
Wheeler and then Schwarber or Turner, and then like you said, waiting out and just tacking on Realmuto and Marsh, because I also do think that I'm taking Sanchez over Suarez, just because I think they let him pitch longer in a game. I think Ranger Suarez is very much a 2 times through the order kind of guy, but they could both succeed. Saw him last year pretty lights out in the playoffs, so maybe it's wrong to ignore Suarez, but yeah. Take down to Stott, don't take Walker, and just stack the Phillies.
Yeah. The last Philly point that you kind of stole my thunder on the Philly hot take, because my take was going to be take Wheeler instead of Harper. I think there's the value you gain from Wheeler over Harper. If you're planning on taking Phillies, I have no problem taking Wheeler 4th or 5th, and then letting the people behind you either split and take Harper, or Harper just falls back to you. So I think Wheeler is the A1 here, and feel free to fire away with him.
Yeah. And if you tell me that Bryce Harper hits a home run in every playoff game this playoffs, like, I'm not going to be surprised, but he has not had the power in the second half. So that's the slight dock I'm giving him. But he's Bryce Harper. So
just as a baseball point as well, this contest is a futures betting contest. You're trying to pick the team that makes the World Series and hopefully scores the most points in the World Series. I think qualitatively and quantitatively as well this year, Philly's bullpen is actually good now, as opposed to the last couple of years where it was a fucking liability and they were trying to hide it. I think this is at least solid. They have good rotation. Now they have a good bullpen. They have a good lineup. I think they're the best team in the NL.
Yep, absolutely. Let's see. So we are going to the Brewers. Hooray, they locked up the playoffs. This year feels different. I think it's because because of the weakness of the Dodgers rotation. Phillies are pretty scary, but I do feel like the Brewers somewhat have a chance, but I'm always the pessimist. So, but I'm drafting them. So I think their prices match with Cleveland. I think it's a very similar situation. The only difference is on the Brewers, they have Freddie Peralta. So he's sort of like the Jose Ramirez in the case of this is the guy, maybe even somewhat Willie Diamonds, but you take these 2 guys or one of them, and then you wait on the team, which is, I think for their chances of going far, I think they're not drafted high enough.
I think you put them in the right bucket with Cleveland. I think that's kind of a similar vibe of where they're going and how people view them. I would rather draft Brewers than Guardians. Part of that is, you're not, well, most likely not getting the bye. So you're getting that extra series to start with. And I think this team is just built a little bit better. I like some of the bats they have near the top. We know kind of who's going to be in the lineup. And then pitching wise, like you said, you do have the Freddie ace, lock it in. After that, you can tell me who to draft. I don't know who to draft. I think they're going to do a lot of mixing and matching.
Yeah. So don't draft Brandon Woodruff. I think so. Freddie, number one, forget about that. Then I think it's probably Frankie Montas. So it's tough because Savali's the lefty, right?
Savali's a righty.
Right. No, do they have who's the lefty? Do they have a lefty?
Flyers.
I don't even. This is embarrassing, huh? I don't even know my team.
DL Hall is a lefty.
Right.
He's right-handed.
Yeah, everybody's righty. Yeah. Okay. So, they're going to mix and match. I see Colin Reyes starting on Friday. He got moved to the bullpen for a little bit when they didn't need the fifth starter. So I think he's the fringiest. I think they like, Tobias Myers is a hidden gem this year that nobody's really paid attention to, just how good he's been out of nowhere after being terrible. They've done something to fix Frankie Montas. He's pitching well as a Brewer. And then, Savale has been fine. So I think you just shotgun approach here. I'm skipping Colin Ray. If I think I'm taking DL Hall over Colin Ray. I think
that tracks. DL Hall also feels it just has like strikeout upside. Like there is, even if he is the piggyback guy or the long man, this is like souped up Lorenzen with strikeouts. Kind of is the like uncertain rotation spot, but could make a difference.
Even if he starts, he's going to be max 2 times through the order kind of guy, but he has the strikeouts. So if he starts or he's in bullpen, I think if you want to get cute, you can take him. He's not actually a starter. Whereas I think Montas and Savale have history of being starters and, being consistent in terms of how long they go into game. But they are going to cut them all pretty short on, innings pitched.
The flip side of the coin, like when we talked about Cleveland and how they've added so much value through the relief pitching this year, same thing with Milwaukee, and that means you're going to be more aggressive deploying those weapons in a short series. So don't be surprised if you're guys, maybe not even with the exception of Freddie Peralta, like it wouldn't shock me if they were like, all right, 2 times through the order and you're done. Like we're moving on, we got better weapons here
for sure. Because he hasn't
hitter-wise,
he hasn't exactly been consistent this year. He's had some great games, but fairly average overall.
I think especially some of these like the short series, like the wild card round in the DS, like there's going to be quick hooks. Like these teams are not playing around with letting him tank their season in one day. Hitter-wise, Garrett Mitchell goes too late relative to some of these other guys. Like he hits fourth against righties.
Yeah.
So move him up.
Okay.
Self-Relic and him don't deserve to be right next to each other, in my opinion. The rest of these guys are probably in the correct order.
Yeah, totally. But I think I don't think Bryce Strang is it. Anyway, we don't need to get into that. He has stolen base potential, and I think if you want to go deep down to Joey Ortiz, he can spike you a few games and make a series scoring amount. But yeah, I think you just get comfortable drafting whoever you want from this lineup. I think.
Agreed.
All right, what do we got next? I think we probably have your version of the Brewers to me next, and that's San Diego. I think you were pretty, or maybe similar to that. So I'll let you lead on San Diego. I haven't really drafted too much of them.
So San Diego was definitely a team that I was interested in taking from the start. I thought their ADPs were a little bit wrong. Similar vibe to Baltimore, but I didn't quite get as aggressive on San Diego as I did with Baltimore. They are, for me, there's kind of a clear group of 3 NL teams that I really wanted to target. And I think if I were to start drafting now, given the ADPs and the situations, San Diego would be the 3rd team on that list.
Okay.
And we'll get to the other team that I want to talk about after this. But from a San Diego perspective, they have Tatis was probably the most wrong hitter ADP to start with. He started in like the 50s. He was going after Jackson Merrill, and he's shot all the way up. Manny, him, Merrill, Profar. I think Profar is mispriced. Like he has been hitting 1st or 3rd every day for this team.
True.
And Merrill is going to win Rookie of the Year, in my opinion, should in the NL. He's, 5th, 6th, 7th. Lineup position isn't everything, but it does tell you how a team values a player and their spot in this order. So I took Profar above Merrill sometimes, and I'm fine doing that. Cease is a stud. I think the pitchers are correct. King and Musgrove are probably also getting the ball, and then everyone else you can probably leave behind.
I do think you can add on Darvish.
Okay, that's fair.
I don't know what he is this year, but he has the ability to pitch. So the one thing I will push back, as the daily drafter in me, and probably why you see this ADP split, is every day Jackson Merrill batting 6th has like, I don't know, 2 or 3 points more projection than Profar, even if he's batting 3 spots behind him. So projections just love Jackson Merrill, especially against a righty. They still bat him 6th sometimes there, just because they have like consistent guys in Arias and Cronenworth, and they have these guys that they like and are comfortable batting ahead of him. But just every day, if you look at projections against a righty, Merrill is always higher than the other guys outside of Machado and Tatis.
That's fair. I would love to see in the next 2 weeks leading into the playoffs, I would love to see them kind of cave on that and be like, Jackson Merrill is the 3rd best hitter on this team. Like, let's move him up. Let's do something here. Because he is, worthy and valuable of it.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. I don't know if I drafted Luis Arias many times when I draft this team. He's going to hit leadoff. Okay.
Yeah, not going to strike out. I'm definitely Cronenworth over Bogarts and Arias.
Yes, I agree. And I would probably draw the line after Cronenworth. I don't think I'm taking Ha-Seong.
I wasn't sure if he was coming back, but
yeah,
it's kind of a fringe.
Padres note. We were talking about the Royals as an example of a team that you needed to be aware of where you're getting your outfielders from. Padres for your outfielders, Royals for your infielders is a really nice wild card combo. Those are 2 teams that fit together very well. So if you have an AL heavy infield team, San Diego, you can grab all three of those guys relatively easily, and then you're set at outfield. That's totally fine by me.
Yeah, and the Cease, Reagan's, Lugo, King, and or Musgrove pitching staff is pretty nice sounding. All right, so we'll move on to who is the one you were referring to? Diamond. I can spell Diamondbacks. Diamond does it. That'll filter. Yeah. So this is the team you're saying, the third one on your list. So Phillies, Padres, and Diamondbacks. So yeah, I'll let you lead on this one again then too.
This is the one. To me, I would really love. So when we're doing this, they are, according to Fangraphs, a 75%-ish chance to make the playoffs. That got as high as like 98 a week or two ago. It's been kind of all over the place. If they make it, this is my favorite NL team to draft. At cost, playoff considerations, if somehow they end up as the 6th seed, like let's say the Mets or the Braves jump them, like they're all kind of jumbled right now. The Mets I think are technically ahead. This team against Milwaukee in round 1 and then would get the Dodgers in round 2. Like that sounds very familiar to last year's team.
Yeah.
I think that this year's Diamondbacks team is just straight up good. Like I think this is a very good baseball team, and they have played like it for the past like 3 months. They've been the best offense in baseball. That win probability graph it's Diamondbacks hitting. Like that is the biggest impact I think of any. They've been the best lineup in baseball, and their pitching has been meh to slightly below average, which is fine. I think the order of the hitters is pretty correct. And they're all cheap. Like you can take them whenever you want. I think the pitchers are super interesting. Gallen didn't have an ADP when this opened. He's up to 50. That's fine. He's going to keep moving up, I think. I think he closes the gap kind of on Marte and Carroll, because I think people are going to take him more if this team starts closing in on a playoff berth. I love Brandon Pfaadt. I drafted him so much last year for season-long stuff. He is like, I think he kind of broke out in last year's playoffs. Like he was awesome when they needed him. And I think he is getting the ball in a playoff game. And then I think Merrill Kelly is also getting the ball. I think those are the 3 guys.
Yeah.
You could talk around Montgomery, Rodriguez, maybe you could piggyback those 2 guys. You could do whatever, but I think it's the first 3, and then we're on our way. I love this team, and I would be willing to. So we go Marte, Carroll, Walker, Suarez, Jock. I didn't take much Jock. He's a pinch hit risk, like a never facing a lefty kind of guy. Is Lourdes back yet? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
He is still in rehab. So maybe shy away from him until we know for sure. Aggressive base running. Okay.
Return during the current road trips as of 2 days ago. So he should be good to go. I think
keep going like Gurriel, Moreno, McCarthy, Bell. Like I'll draft any of those guys.
Okay. Yeah. I think Bell is the end for me. Just because he kind of his purpose was to be there when Christian Walker was hurt, and he's kind of I actually don't know how much he's even playing right now. I haven't really paid attention to this team.
Not much recently, it looks like. So I take it back. I don't want Josh Bell anymore.
Okay. The super secret I think is Jake McCarthy here.
Yes.
Basically undrafted, who has just he put together a hit tool with the speed this year and has had some supreme upside. So I like him more than Gurriel. I just love Jock Peterson, so I'm still going to take Jock Peterson just because I think that he's got
McCarthy also is the everyday center fielder, and that's a premium defensive position that you're not just taking off the field for no particular reason. So I think he's playing every day. So Pavin Smith has been playing for the past week and a bit and hitting 5th or 6th. I don't know if that changes once Lourdes comes back. Maybe he's the guy that gets squeezed out, but he is not anywhere on this list. So I don't know if that's he's an outfielder now. So maybe if injury something breaks a certain way and we keep seeing him hit 5th for this team, you can consider. But there's options everywhere. I love this team.
Yeah. Probably not Randall Grichuk, but he does play often enough. Sometimes
he's handsome, but that's about it.
All right, and then we got the Braves and the Mets, but we're hitting a little bit over an hour here, so I think we're going to skip off on the fringe teams again here.
Good teams only.
Well, yeah, it is very interesting that we are sitting here and not talking about the Braves on this. It's not at all expected in terms of when we started this season. All right, Chris, we did it. We talked through most of the teams. Anything else on your mind?
Nothing really. That was very helpful. I think player pool wise, just to go through, go down the list, see who you can take, who you don't want to take. I will throw out there that just as an overall thought, we talk a lot about staying in your own lane during these drafts and making sure that you know who you're drafting, pay attention to who people are drafting. For these competitive teams and for the non-competitive teams, don't be afraid to stick to your team if somebody else jumps in. That can provide you some natural diversification if things happen. And then also be aware of if you're taking a big portfolio approach and you're looking at some of these non-competitive teams, be aware of duping yourself, but don't be afraid to do it once or twice. Don't stress yourself out too much about it, but have kind of an idea that if you're taking the top 7 Royals plus the top 5 Padres, you might have taken that already because it's very easy to just do those 12 guys. So just be aware and pay attention, I guess, during your drafts and after your drafts. You kind of know what's up.
Yeah. I mean, a couple is fine because you're going to run into different pods with those same teams.
Exactly.
And even then, if it is a weird combo, like last year, if you had 2 of the same Arizona Texas team that randomly got through, you'd be very happy. So yeah, duping isn't quite as much of a problem on this contest, but don't get too crazy.
Agreed.
I think the one thing I do want to add, I did it the other day and I felt bad about it. I didn't stay in my lane. I got into someone else's lane. And I do think that sometimes you kind of want to do that if you want a certain combo of teams. So if you're comfortable with this was specifically a Phillies stack, if you're comfortable with a small Philly stack and a big AL team to go with it, jump in, you can do it. We talk about so much about staying in your lane that it's hard once you get that in your head to remember you can get out of your lane a little bit because it's going to get you a different team. And as long as you're, building smart teams overall, you can still win that way. Somebody might be upset with you, but that's too bad.
It's baseball over the course of a series. If you get the not top 7 Phillies stacked, congrats, you've won the projections for that series. But baseball is a lumpy scoring sport with big variable events. So that is just not going to happen where those 7 are kind of exactly what you need. And if it does, then it makes a very weird scoring round. So I agree. Do what you gotta do, but be considerate of still building your teams so that you give yourself the best chance to win.
Yep. All right, so everyone get out there, draft some dingers, and for Chris and myself, draft some dingers. Sorry, it's late. I've been working a lot lately.
Wait, dingers next year. DING3R.
There you go. There you go.
Write that down.
All right. If you need any more numbers in your word, come back to the Stacking Dingers show. We got you covered. So for Chris and myself, good luck out there.